to order. Come to order. Any declarations of conflict of interest?
See none.
See none? You have the agenda for A, B, C, and D. Any concerns, any issues? Any omissions, additions? Okay. Move to approve the agenda. Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Duffy. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Number 1, council advisory resolution.
Your worship.
Councillor, okay, go ahead, sorry. Councillor Yankoff, do you want to introduce it, or do you want
I
Mr.?
think you can read the resolution first.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Your worship, moved by Councillor Yankoff, second by Councillor Deputy Mayor Cody, that the following appointments to the city standing committees at the council be approved effective immediately. Councillor Terry McLeod, Chair of Planning and Heritage Committee. 2, Councillor Ramsey, Vice Chair, Economic Development, Tourism and Event Management Committee. And 3, Councillor Duffy, Member at Large, Protected Emergency Services, Your worship.
So if you want, I can just.
Could you please, if you don't mind? Thank you.
So the council advisory committee met last week. Basically, we met because we no longer had a chair of planning due to Councillor Duffy's health. So Terry McLeod had volunteered that he would be, who would take on that chairpersonship role. So that then affected a few other changes because Councillor McLeod would need to come off of his vice chairmanship on events, economic development, tourism, events management, as well as we still then needed, it became a bit of a domino effect. Councillor Duffy, with his health, chosen that the best thing for him was to not take on the extra stress of a chairpersonship. So he is sitting, thankfully, as a member at large on Protective Emergency Services. So if anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer, but it is pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
See where there's adjustments been made for 3 councillors, and I'm given to understand over the last few weeks a number of councillors were consulted as to what committees they'd like to sit on. Can you tell me why I wasn't given the same, or afforded the same opportunity?
Councillor Yankoff.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I was not aware of anyone that was contacted to ask if they had anything that they wanted. I do know that Councillor Terry McLeod came forward and put his name forward, and he was the only one that put their name forward to take on the role. And afterwards, the Councillor Ramsey was reached out to afterwards and to ask whether or not, after Council Advisory Committee made a recommendation, whether or not he would accept that recommendation before it came forward to council. And as well as Mike Duffy was in the meeting, Councillor Duffy, and when his name was put forward and we tried to fill the gaps, he said that he would be willing to do that if council's decision was to proceed with this resolution.
And Councillor Yankoff, could I just add, the meeting was called within 48 hours because of the offer from Councillor McLeod, correct?
That's right, that's the only reason
So,
the meeting was
you didn't make any calls, only, and I think, was Councillor Ramsey asked at one of her previous meetings to sit on planning board? And
No, I think that Councillor Ramsey volunteered, correct me if I'm wrong, at one of our other meetings, that he would certainly be willing to step up and take another committee if need be, and if I've misspoken, maybe.
Yes, you are a little bit. No, it's great. And you got in contact with me Monday, I believe, and asked if I was willing to do it. And I basically said, well, that'll give me 6 committees out of 10, so I'm not doing too bad. I missed to join the other 4, but anyway, that's beside the point. But, and I said I will certainly try it, and if I find it's going to be too much, I will certainly let them know. But as of now, because I am sort of comfortable with economic development, I've been there before, so I'm just swapping places with Councillor McLeod. But yes,
Okay.
I am willing to look for now, and see how the workload goes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Twill, your second time.
That's my point. See, some councillors were contacted and asked if they'd serve, take on different responsibilities. Once again, just like 8 months ago, I wasn't given that same opportunity. to see what committees I would like to participate on, which ones I'm comfortable sitting on. And, you know, we have the advisory committee that seems to shuffle the deck, but don't reach out to all members of council. I find that unacceptable. I find it unacceptable, disrespectful. You know, some councillors are accommodated, some aren't. And then you see the results of that. So it's unacceptable, and to my mind, that's not the way we should be conducting business. All members of city council should be given the same opportunity to look at the committees they'd like to participate on, which ones are comfortable sitting on. No, you can't seem to do that.
Well, the council advisory committee came about because of the procedural bylaw that was passed in the fall of 2018. Councillor McLeod, do you have something to say?
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I'll come back to you, Councillor
Just to
Ramsey, second time.
kind of explain a little more. So I thought about this and I thought, you know what? Someone's got to take the ball here, and I put my name forward. But at the same time, I didn't want to lose Public Works. I'm enjoying Public Works. It's, I got, you know, I'm just starting to, I've only been here a short time and in the role, and I'm starting to get some things rolled out. Looking forward to what's happening here, you know, going forward. Ken's Corner, you know, the roundabout at Belvedere. These are things that when I got Public Works, I said, I want to see come to fruition because they've been around since the dog's age. So that was close to my heart, was Public Works. So when I said, okay, look, I'll take on planning, so that's 3 committees, plus. So I couldn't do everything. So I stepped down from economic development and I stepped down from police. So council advisory took over from there. I had no conversations with nobody. I want to make this clear. I'm just stuck my neck out to take planning, and that's all I've done.
Thank
I'm
you.
not interested in doing anything else. I got enough on my plate for that. So I don't know where Councillor Twill, where you're thinking that somebody was calling or talking, but I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had none of that. And as far as I understand it, the council advisory was when everything was decided. They made phone calls to Mike and they made phone calls to Kevin because Mike didn't have a chair. So, and he made it clear he was quite happy with not having a chair. And Kevin Ramsey had indicated that he would like economic development, and they made a call and he said he would take it. So that's where it is.
Let's wrap it up there, Councillor Ramsey.
I will.
Second question.
Like just for Councillor Squeal too, like I didn't go lobbying for this.
No.
I was surprised that I got the phone call last week.
To sit on planning.
No, economic development.
Yeah.
And as I said to, was it Councillor Yankoff, I said, I will certainly try it at that point, but I did not go to CAC and say, I would like to go back here or do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Look, guys, we have to wrap this up. Councillor Bernard, you want to sum up what your thoughts are? Like, guys, we want to keep this going. We got a long agenda.
I do, but you know what? It's like we've always said, and I've been here for quite a few years. It's never easy to try and keep 10 people happy. You know what I mean? So here we are again. The CAC committee puts out recommendations, and that's what they are, is a recommending body. The council passes, so council passed. So you know what? Are you going to make everybody happy? No. Are they picking and choosing? No. The recommendations are coming on the floor. They do the best they can.
Yeah.
Now, we have a chair of planning who, it's a very demanding chairmanship. He has health issues. We like to see Mike around a little bit longer than the doctors are saying he continues to keep that so. No one was taking the ball.
That's
You were
right.
asked, do you want planning? Oh, that's a plan. So, Councilor McLeod came to the forefront and said, listen, I'll take it. So when you do that, yeah, there's some recommendations, there's some shuffling that has to happen. The CAC committee did that. They did their homework. They're recommending body. So this here about, you know, talking to some people and not to others, you're not going to get it right every time. And I think, you know, I give them credit for doing what they could, doing their best, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. You want to call the question?
Call question.
Question's called. Okay. All those in favor, please put up your hand in favor of the resolution that Mr. Kelly read out. Councillor Terry McLeod, Chair, Planning Heritage Committee. Councillor Ramsey, Vice Chair, Economic Development. Councillor Duffy, Member at Large, Protective and Emergency Services Committee. All those in favor, please put up your hand. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
No.
Okay. Councillor Twill, yea or nay?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Well, would one of those two like to take on planning, chair planning?
Why don't you take it on?
We're moving on. Moving on, thank you.
So I have quite a few
No.
committees now.
Pardon me?
I have quite a few committees now.
Well, you know what? Some
Yeah.
councils were asked.
Thank you,
That's
just
what
guys,
councils were.
let's just
None
move
of us
on.
were asked. It's a double standard.
No, thank you.
Yes, it is a double
Planning,
standard.
whoa, guys, planning resolution, and Mr. Kelly, is that the reason Mr. Forbes is here for B, or is he here for something else? Affordable housing? Mr. Forbes,
He's here for part of the
B?
planning reversal, but it's fairly straightforward. It's just following up on council's motion.
So do you have a resolution there for planning resolution, lot consolidation, 7585 Kent Street,
Yeah, sure.
54 Fitzroy Street?
Moved by Councilor Yankoff, second by Councilor McCabe, that the request for the consolidation that follows the request for consolidation the following, 54 Fitzroy, PID 343640, with RD-1, a portion of Fitzroy Street from lot 19-1, 75 Kent Street, PID 343525, with RD-2, portion of Kent Street and Bonnell Street to form lot 19-2, 85 Kent Street, PID 343533, with RD3, a portion of Kent Street to lot 19-3, and 89 Kent Street, PID 343590 and 343558, the parcel P-A, a portion of PID 3433533 to form lot 19-4. Be approved to the subject pin and final survey plan on a new perimeter D, description being registered describing the order of boundaries of lot 19-1, 19-2, 19-3, and 19-4. And your worship, this is as a result of the motion of council dated November 9th, 2020.
Okay. Questions? Councillor Twill, is the question clarified as maybe it is?
Is this the property that the city of Charleham sold to Rods Royalty in? Charleham Rods?
This property? Mr. Kelly?
That's correct.
That's correct? Okay.
What was the sale again? How much?
$1,179,000.
And is that lot 19-3?
It's a combination worship of two full lots that that were owned by the city and one utter boundary that surrounds the hotel your worship, which is on the inside of the sidewalk.
So 19-1, 19-2, 19-3 become one lot?
And at some point in time, your worship, should Rod wish to consolidate all their property, they can. Right now, this is only consolidating the pieces that we are selling to them, so they are under this consolidation for those lots mentioned.
And do we lose, is the park in 19-3? That green space that's next to the fire, is that a 19-3? Do we lose that?
Yes, sure. That's part of
becomes-
this.
that becomes the
acquisition.
property?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Twill, second question.
Are they changing the usage of the lot as opposed to what's been utilized for the last 25, 40 years?
Good question.
To our understanding, they do plan to use it as continued parking. Without with the parking, the hotel would obviously be hard to stretch by. I am not aware of any other plans at this time. They will be probably charging for parking back there. We'll retain our own sites, but they'll charge it as they deem it appropriate.
Did this property go to tender?
No, there was a pre-existing contract with Rods to use a parking space. If you recall, this came to council had that discussion, and council agreed with the motion November 9th, 2020 to sell the lands to Rods, and today is the final piece of that before it closes at the end of the month.
And the vote, I think, went 8-2, right, Mr. Kelly?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's right in the package. Councillor McCabe, do you have a question?
No, I was just trying to understand too,
Yeah.
the purpose of what the consolidation piece, I'm just not really clear on what we need to consolidate it for.
So if you see the outer pieces on the inside of the sidewalk at the corner of the hotel inward, both on Kent and Pownell, they will join the hotel. The piece on Houston will join the
No.
piece.
Fitzroy.
Fitzroy will join that back piece inside the sidewalk, and the piece on Kent will join the piece on inside the sidewalk on Kent.
It's a bit complicated.
Let's hold back parking lot.
I know, I'm just trying to understand it all.
So RD2 was a right-of-way the city always owned. RD3 was always what the city owned. They consolidated into the purchase.
And
that correct, Mr. Kelly?
Yes, sir. And the council will also recall that this also became intertwined when we purchased 70 Kent, also, Your Worship.
70 Kent, where planning is. Yeah. And Councillor Duffy, I'm sure you remember that this was always property that was used by the Charlottetown Hotel for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Yet we had to tear down the Russell Stewart's house to make way for that lot 19-1.
Yep.
Question? Questions called. All those in favor of the resolution, please raise your hands. Raise your hand. Councillor Bernard, yea or nay? Okay. Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
No.
Councillor Twill?
No?
Okay. Now, do you have another resolution there, sir, or
Yes,
another?
Your Worship, this is on the short-term rental public consultation.
Oh, okay.
If you recall, Your Worship, this went to the Affordable Housing Committee, and their points of concern that they had issue around the vacancy rate. What's being proposed here in this policy change is going to 5%. They did indicate that if we are to have a vacancy rate mentioned, they would like to see at least 5%. This has that 5% as being the vacancy rate when this program would not be in effect. At 5%, it is an open market, supposedly, and there is a lot of housing choice in that state. We had 3%, if you recall, but we now agree and have changed it to represent the 5% that they have asked for. There was some concern around, again, who uses the program and the affordability and the interpretations of those commentary, as you've heard over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Again, that's another issue for province and CMHC. This here is just that as our program, this will tie into our bylaw, which gives it only to provincial sponsored programs.
Which is 30%. 30% of a family's income, right?
Whatever program they can acquire to the province, worship, we would be part of that. Any other program we are not part of. For this program, you'll also note that we changed it to a 10-year sliding scale versus the full 20-year time frame, and 50% for the rebate on the
permit.
version.
Councillor Twill?
So it's been reduced from 20 years to 10, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
And a
10
sliding
years.
scale.
10 years, Mr. Kelly. So what about the fees? Are they going to continue on being waived, or now the developers have to pay?
It's 50%, Councillor.
50%.
Only for
The building.
affordable housing only. All other the developments they have to pay for, only for affordable housing program.
Second question, Councillor
So,
Twill.
okay, here's the $20 million question. What's affordable? Is it affordable for the developers, or is it affordable for people that are looking to rent?
He's going to answer.
So this program, Councillor, is not tied into CMHC numbers. This is tied in fully into provincial programs, in which they have 3 or 4 different programs. It's only tied into their program, not the CMHC
Which is
program.
25 to 30% of a family's gross income. And families can only make so much. Anything over that, they have to find another program. Mr. Kelly, could you tell council, what are we looking at in tax relief or tax credits for the affordable program up to this point? Is it several million, did you say?
I believe it's around $4 million that we will have foregone over that time frame. So this did have a quick hit. We do have 4 housing, in the Kensington area that's being built. There's 24 units there, I believe, that's tied into this program. There's a building or 2 over on Acadia Drive, and 1 is owned by the Burts. So there are the 4 programs that I believe are, 5 buildings programs that are in play, Your Worship.
Yeah. Councillor Yankoff,
I just,
is it,
the affordable housing, this incentive program, this went through the Affordable Housing Committee,
Correct.
and they're in agreement to this.
We changed it to 5%
That's
as
the only issue.
per their
That was their only issue?
other than also the interpretation of affordability, as Councillor Twill brought forward, there was concern around that as well. But again, that's an issue for CMHC and the province.
So the committee was good with this?
Yes. Yeah. Chaired by Bob Gray.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And you'll get this out, Mr. Kelly, if it's passed? The changes? The
This
moves out?
will be affected, this will basically tie into our current program, our current bylaw, which states it does apply to only provincial programs. So this is, corrects the issues are raised, whether or not CMHC is in or out. As per our current bylaw, it only applies to provincial
Yeah.
programs. This will then match that.
Yeah. And any projects in the queue right now will be under the old program,
If
correct?
they're with the provincial, this is the same thing, Your Worship, but only if they apply to the provincial, because that's what our current bylaw has, Your Worship.
But some projects that are there right now, they might be,
But CMHC will not qualify for this program, Your Worship.
if we
That's-
pass this tonight, those are all,
Even if you don't pass this, under our current bylaw, the CMHC model does not fit in this policy, Your Worship.
Councilor Bernard,
So,
can you just stand up there so that we can all hear you? Just Mr. Councilor Duran, so we can. Thank you, sir.
so after we pass this, so this is geared towards if they meet the criteria for the provincial criteria for affordable housing and the tax breaks will come.
And they have various programs, Counselor, they have rent subsidy, they have,
What I'm wondering is, do we have a cap? We have a certain amount of money capped.
Not yet?
This is why we're trying to refine it to be 10-year sliding scale, and then also 50% so we can control those costs, while at the same time to encourage affordable housing.
So we have a ballpark. I mean, we should have an open end.
Yeah. We're not out of the woods yet.
If you can afford it or not.
We're not out of the woods yet for affordable housing.
I don't know.
This is also to be, and looked at as part of the policy.
Every 2 years it's reviewed.
It's to be reviewed every 2 years.
So this is part of the review.
And
Say that again.
every 2 years, this policy is needing to be reviewed, so if things change in the marketplace, this can change as well.
So I'm wondering, do we have a budget for it?
We will build it into our current, as you know, when council approved it, it was at the full 20 year, and that was not capped at the time. We are now working those numbers into our budget numbers. But there is no cap unless council says there's a cap. But in the past, there has not been a cap.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it was. We always have a cap.
No.
$350,000 is in the budget. 315 is in the budget, but that does that cover all the tax rebates? Tax credits?
Not for this year, because there is certain criteria they have to adhere to, which is a occupancy permit, they have to pay their taxes. So this is a rebate program. It's not a forgiveness.
And it will be reviewed in 2 years.
Yes, Your Worship.
And the city right now has no projections of what this may cost us in 2 years' time.
Right now, we don't know who may apply under this program. Council, right now, there is only the 3 on Kenston who are new into the program. They will not start until a year after they finish their A buildings. So until they get their final A assessment, we don't have none,
So no projections.
none at this time.
Not yet.
And if this passes tonight, when do we expect this to start?
There's a start tonight.
Tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow.
I think we want to get some projections.
Yeah. And that's a good question. That's,
We will, as best we can.
that's why I keep
based upon
asking
market
Alex.
conditions. Okay.
Alex, Mr. Kelly's responsible for it, so Mr. Kelly will have to get those projections, or projections. Yes, Councilor McKay?
And I concur with
Could you just stand up
Councilor
to?
Bernard. So why are we
Councilor Duran?
voting on something if we're still missing information? Why do we have to vote on something
We
tonight?
sorry, Council, we are not missing any information. Basically, we're trying to cap some of the costs we are incurring based upon the past couple years of this program. We will get to the projections about the current ones underway. Any new ones, we don't know until they apply for the program. There may not be any ones coming on in the next 2 or 3 years, we don't know. But the ones we have, we will do projections on those.
Yeah.
That does not involve this at this time. We want to make sure that our bylaw corresponds with the policy. If we do this tonight, this will correspond with the bylaw and the policy together.
Okay, that all said and done. Question?
No,
You got a question there, sir?
Great, thank you very much, George.
Yes, sir.
So, just in a nutshell, Peter, without this program, what would, how much more would rent be? I guess that'd be, for someone that doesn't use the program and apply to the province, and they tried to put a building up, would it be like a 30% more increase, a 20% more increase?
I'm sorry,
Or would the building even happen at all?
I think with a combination of the low the low fees from CMHC and the provincial programs and these kind, it helped bring several hundred units to the market. What that's worth in terms of a rental offset, I don't have a number.
But the program is working.
Yeah.
It is. I always take it that if your rent was $1,000 a month and you're under this program, at 25 to 30%, you're paying $250 to $300 a month.
Thank you.
Question? Question called?
Yes.
Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor.
Okay. Got a resolution for that, sir? 10, sir? Or just, it was a policy?
That the attached affordable housing incentive
Okay.
program policy,
Okay.
P admin 2021-01, dated July 26, 2021, be approved.
Okay. So here's our topic. It's Mr. Forbes, is it? Just you. That's yours. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, Mr. Forbes, do you want to start?
So I've been asked to give you an update on the SDR,
Yeah.
where we are on this, and I guess just be mindful of, I'm suggesting where staff are, you folks of the council, you can, change those timelines, but, so I think what we would like to propose is that in September, Mr. Zilke, who's been working on this over the summer months, and even though the public meeting was back in May, we continue to work this file. There's a lot of parts to this. So he's suggesting that we come forward in September with an updated report in regard to where we are, indicating some of the public dialogue that we heard at the first public meeting, trying to narrow that discussion. We'll put that out to the public. The public will review that during the month of September. Depending on the feedback that you're getting during the month, you may wish to have a special meeting. You may wish to bring us back, being the staff, ask some more questions. The purpose of that, again, is to refine the direction when you go out to a public hearing. We're suggesting, it's our suggestion, you go out to a public hearing you're gonna have to change the official plan, the zoning bylaw, and you have to bring in a registration bylaw. So you have to start that process in October. You'll have a public meeting in October. If everything is going well, then you will potentially just ratify everything in November on bringing in all of the zoning bylaw amendments, the official plan amendments, the STR bylaw, and then we have another enforcement bylaw that will work summary convictions. It'll all kind of, we're trying to work to bring it all in at the same time, so that, we have the tools we need, not just the direction from you folks in regard to how we're going to regulate them, but the enforcement components, getting people registered, setting the fee, the annual fee for STR. So that's where we think we're going, but again, I work for you folks. If you want to change those timelines, we can accommodate.
Any questions?
So, yes, I do.
Sure. Yes, Councillor.
So, Alex-
Right ahead there, please.
In a nutshell, is that you're just trying to get all the information ready and then bring it back to us, and then we go to our public meeting, and with the input that we had at the center over there.
Right.
And everything like that, and have all the information so we're not missing anything.
Right.
Am I
yeah.
correct?
Yep, and the meeting, some people were a little bit confused of why we had that original public meeting. That public meeting was very helpful for staff. So the public meeting we had back in May, we heard from the public, so that we're going to use that information that we heard at the public meeting to bring back to you. What Robert Zilke would like to do is release this report in September. It'll talk a lot about those things, all of those changes that we're proposing. When we have our first planning committee meeting, Your Worship, which Now that we have a new chair, will likely be soon. We can elaborate on what that report will look like in September. But again, it's there so that the public know that it's coming. They can read the information. And so what we're trying to do is, once you get into a public meeting, you want to have more people informed and hopefully more people somewhat knowing the direction that you're going before you make it. So again, it's trying to just facilitate the discussion in the community. But in October, you'll be out to a public meeting, and then you'll be all of those other parts, the other bylaws to bring it into place. We'll have to get them approved by council as well.
Okay. Councillor Yankup, as a member of the committee, would you have a question there, bud?
So last March, before COVID hit,
Yes?
the council, and correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong, we had passed a resolution to go to public consultation with one of the scenarios.
Scenario 3, I
So are
think.
we rescinding that, since we seem to be starting again, are we rescinding that so that we can get back to these steps
Yeah.
again? Because I think the public is really confused.
Yeah.
Right.
As am I.
So when we come forward,
Good point.
we will be indicating that when we start that process to amend those plans, we'll indicate where we were back in March, what was the direction that was provided at that time. But without confusing things, but the public, when council made the direction for the option that they preferred back in March of last year, we didn't have the benefit of going out to the community. So that community meeting back in May was really fairly, they, at least you folks were at the meeting, they gave a pretty strong direction to staff, at least, the direction that they preferred, which is different than the one that council wanted to go out back in March. But even when we went out to, we were heading back out in March of last year, you just had to start somewhere. I don't think council knew whether the option that they picked was going to be the one that was actually the one that was finally approved. We had to hear from the public.
So just as.
Second question, Councillor, could you just stand up just again?
Sure.
Please speak loud so that Councillor Cannot can hear you.
In terms of not confusing everybody, why wouldn't we just rescind that resolution right now?
Yeah, we can do that, or,
So, why don't we just. get rid of it?
Could we take it back to committee?
I prefer to hear all the information before I rescind.
Yeah, could
Okay.
we take it back to committee? That's what I'm
You do what
suggesting.
you
But
want,
it
I
has
just don't want to confuse the public.
Yeah, but we do have to rescind it to start anew, correct?
Your worship, I was led to believe that it left planning board last March, but it didn't make it to council chamber. It was never voted on.
Yes, it was.
The
The resolution was voted on.
I was led to believe by staff.
We went with 4, scenario 4.
Right.
That was put on the floor and that was
Okay.
turned down. And then it went to scenario 3. I have the resolution.
Okay, all right, fine. I was
Yeah, so it did go, and then COVID-19 hit and the brakes were put on.
I was advised that it left planning board, yes, the resolution. the
And it came here.
And it didn't make it here because the 15th of March.
But we voted on it to go to the public meeting.
Oh, okay, all right.
So your worship, just to follow up with Councillor Yankoff, that'll be the first thing on our first planning committee meeting.
Yeah.
We'll have that discussion, and then we'll indicate when we're going to come to council and, again, set the tone for where we're heading for in September. Thank you.
That's fair.
Good point. Okay, any other questions? Deputy? Rolling?
No, we're great. It's clear.
Question there, Mr. Kelly? No questions, okay. Okay, we're all ready to go?
No, I think when he comes back, all the information's going to be laid out, but all, everything's said in the meeting, the whole thing, we'll have the opportunity to vote on it or off.
Yeah, and we'll go to Councillor McLeod's committee, Planning, Development, and Heritage. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Forbes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes.
Okay, that's it. Now we go to a closed session. So, motion to move into a closed session as per section 119 subsection 1E of the Municipal Act of Prince Edward Island. So moved by Councillor McLeod, second by Councillor Ramsey. All those in favor?